at the win. Congratulations again, Chippies.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to send it back over to the couch once again.
Feeling pretty good?
Yeah, feeling great, as I should be.
Feeling
Yeah,
good?
pretty good. I actually thought that was a really entertaining game. I think that was like the clash in styles that I thought we were going to see. I mean, I'm going to be like completely honest. I don't think that is a draft that is easy to play from order. And Avant really punished it well in the early game. So, I mean, the fact that the game went for 50 minutes, I found out from Swiffer just then that Baron Steel was blind. He counted down the health from 6,000. So even though it didn't show that it was on a vision ward, like it was actually blind. So he counted the health down from vision at 6,000 and like we're able to pick it up.
That's a galaxy brain.
Yeah,
right there.
galaxy brain move. But I think that, I mean, as I said during the cast, I think that just shows the like legitimacy of Avant's claim to like potentially being able to take out this split. It was a very good game.
Absolutely. That was incredibly exciting to watch. Now for things that are exciting to hear. Of course, you guys have been sending in your pickup lines. There's a heap of them. But I just wanted to give some encouragement to everybody out there that, you know, like, here's how you can do it. Jake, I don't know, you've been very busy casting.
Yeah, so I was going over this. I actually don't know many champions, like, lines in the game.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I've chosen a not champion line. Like, I've gone totally...
Oh, you're going AWOL.
League adjacent.
Okay.
But, Rusty, do you want to start us off with an example for the people? Not that you necessarily need one, because you've been sending in heaps.
Okay, I'll follow like a script then that like people can replicate. It starts with the word girl, because all pickup lines start with the word girl.
Unless you're trying to pick up a guy.
Unless you're trying to pick up... Yep.
And then you say guy.
Yeah.
Then you say, you know, like you can follow the recipe. That's the recipe.
There you go.
Girl, are you Nunu? Because on a scale of 1 to 10, you're an absolute 0.
So you're negging? Is that what
That
the
is
move is?
disgustingly bad.
That is
yeah.
so awful.
All right.
I don't want to do pickup lines, so I thought I'd do an anti-pickup line.
That is.
That's what I'm here for.
I was thinking of Nudu lines as well.
I have another one if you want.
Oh, yeah, okay.
While I'm following this train.
Please do.
Are you a dark binding? Because I'm stuck with you forever.
That's a good one.
That's good. See?
That's a good one.
You're going to get Valentine's Day chocolate for that one. Jake, do you have one?
I have absolutely nothing.
Bryce?
I have
Absolute
one
zero.
that has been so graciously gifted to me. I'm not a pickup line guy, but
Oh, I've
you're
been
the
out with
reason there's an E in E-Gym.
There
If
you
you
go.
don't get it, then that's a bad luck for you.
Then
but
you're not OG enough.
Yeah.
And if you do get it, well, there you go. All right. I've got one. I mean, this
for it.
one's a little specific,
Yeah.
Okay.
but it is pickup lines as said by me. Hey, do you like League of Legends? Because I'm the host of the OPL. So I could probably hook you up with some free skins and a tour of the Riot Australia office. But honestly, it's pretty boring here because it's a company, right? And most people just spend their time on their computers and they're really busy. But there is a vending machine that gives out like 20-cent Cokes. So I guess I can chat you one if you want. Sometimes there's a dog. I'm told women like dogs. And I just make a lot of eye contact.
See, call me old-fashioned, but I was more of someone that said, like, hey, you want a drink? What do you do for work? Like,
Yeah, but how is that League of Legends thing? Like, you need to tie it into the...
What do you do for work? I cast League of Legends.
There you go.
There you go, Jake. You're done, man.
no,
That's a
I
good
don't
one.
say that. I say I'm a professional commentator because everyone's like, if I say, you know, I work in video games, they're like, oh, what game do you design?
Yeah.
So you can never say that.
No.
And then like, I work
IT
in
is a rabbit
broadcast.
hole as
Like,
well.
like, are you a cameraman? So like, no, I'm a commentator.
Yeah.
And then they just assume that I'm like some shitty like Sky Racing Tour, like Foxtel, like 2 a.m. handball commentator. And that's fine because I've had a girlfriend for 11 years.
That's fine. You're not actually looking to pick up.
Yeah.
No. But there is someone here who needs some love. That's Pyra. So we've got our third match of the day. So far, a real bust and a real boom.
Yeah.
And that's pretty exciting.
We had our first fight though as a couple. On broadcast.
On broadcast.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's on the
Publicly.
first day. I don't know if that's really good or really bad. Like, if it happens so soon, you just get it out of the way. Or if it's like Doom if it happens that early.
I reckon so soon you get it out of the way.
Yeah,
if you can
see?
survive the first fight with a stranger, because normally when I have a fight with a stranger, I never want to talk to them again. First date, make it through. That's
I've
pretty good.
known him for like 4 years.
Yeah,
not-
but we've never talked before that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
As if you meet anyone and don't talk to them.
That's a very good point, Pyra. It's a very good
Hey, we were on
point.
different continents.
We
Long
have
distance is hard.
the E-Gym Pyra matchup.
Ooh.
Let's bring it
Oh,
up on
boy.
screen.
All
What do we
right.
got?
All right. you take it,
26%.
It's not good.
Dog,
Taurus.
that's a good animal. Taurus is not interested in risking more than is necessary in terms of emotional connection and involvement. And Capricorn is similarly disinterested in risk, but more in terms of money and career. A love relationship between them can go stale fast, since they're different at their cores. Capricorns may start to think Taurus is too lazy, offensive, doesn't care enough about career and status.
Well, I was gonna think you were too lazy, but then you actually like washed your shoes today, and I was really impressed.
Yeah,
they're like bright and shiny.
Yeah,
now.
if anyone's talking crap about my bloody shoes, then they're just wrong because they're fresh as.
Did you actually
fresh
wash
as
them?
fiddlesticks? Say again? Yeah.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
The ones on your feet?
Yeah, the ones on my feet right now. Am I gonna do it? I'm gonna
Yeah,
do,
do
it.
it,
There we
do
go.
it, yeah.
Woohoo!
There we
They're
go.
bloody. They're clean.
They're bright and shiny, man.
Yeah.
Did you wash them?
Yeah, I went out. You know, I was like, look, I'm getting a lot of crap. They could use it. They could use some work, and I bought some stuff, and I cleaned them up, and now,
Very
now
nice.
they're
Doesn't
looking.
it look like you
See,
were
I
wearing
think
tights,
I think that little prediction there is kind of bummed because I'm very impressed by your effort.
Jeans.
That looks
Yeah.
like tights.
Yeah, they're jeans.
You are
They're
very
just-
tall.
Yeah.
Can you
well,
just put the left leg up in the air again?
What? No, it
Looks like
Now-
tights.
Yeah. Put the, now
it
put
really
the,
does.
Wait,
I
put the right
just
leg up.
pinch
Yeah.
rolled.
All right,
And
here,
the
I'll
left
hold it.
leg.
No, there's and the left leg.
And the
No,
left.
there's just
That's weird.
They're just jeans,
Yeah.
right? It's-
Here's what I love. I live for people tuning into the OPL at that moment.
That's
That's why I'm
that's
here.
the thumbnail for the day.
That's all I care about is people turning this on and going,
does that
get to
too.
the games.
That'd be so good when you're at Twitch previews of what's going on. And
Yes.
it's just Ejim with his
And
leg up.
left leg, right leg. But of course, we're not just here to show off Bryce's legs. We're also here to show off you guys. And we're going to do that throughout the rest of the split. We are opening up something of a mailbag so that you guys can send in questions,
Oh,
whether they
no.
be about League of Legends, whether they be about us, whether they be about Bailey, whose birthday it is today.
For relationship advice.
Relationship advice,
We do.
absolutely, like basically anything. You can tell us a cool story that happened to you today, whatever you want. The email address is not at is asknickboy@gmail.com. Send them in, and we'll start. Sharing your stories and answering your
People
questions.
should not be asking us relationship
Please
advice.
make sure
Oh,
that
yeah,
the
they
title
should.
of every email is so that we can't differentiate them at all.
That
course.
should be the
I just
segment
want to
name.
know whether this is going to turn into a genuine segment,
Yep.
like as in like you're genuinely caring about the great unwashed, or whether this is going to turn into a like Husey, we have a problem / Sam's mailbag where you just yell at people.
I mean, I know where I would take it, but
Well, it
just
is
see
Ask
what
Nick.
works.
Okay.
It is. But of course, the questions can be for everyone. The email.
No,
address just
no,
wasn't
that's
long enough.
actually not true.
It can be especially about Jake.
If you send me a question, I am not
In
answering.
fact,
it.
only to spawn.
All right, we will answer on behalf of Jake. But of course, we need to move on with the next game of the day. It is Legacy versus Bombers.
Oh,
I mean, this one pretty heavily favored, of course, towards Bombers. But Legacy have surprised us before.
have they?
Well, once, yeah, they beat
Direwolf.
Direwolves.
Okay.
So and Direwolves were not good then.
I would say that what has surprised me about Legacy is the flexibility that they seem to like have around the map, because I thought that they were going to play pretty much exclusively carry tops and facilitate everywhere else and maybe a carry jungler, but they have seemed to try and step it up in their bottom lane, and they are trying to play a couple of different styles. So I will be interested to see how they attack this Bombers lineup, because with the Bombers, they have like 5 very good players. You kind of have to pick your poison on where you want to approach it on the map.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. New patch, new play styles, new
Yeah.
opportunities for Legacy to pull out not just a Riven this time, but across the entire map, something a little bit different
That
could be
spear of whatever.
Shojin.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that one. That spear of whatever
Yeah.
is like
Shojin.
a good item. Like, it's actually a real fun item in
Which
the top
item?
lane now. It's the spear of.
Whatever.
Shojin.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, but maybe the Frostmancy patch is the patch that Legacy thrive under.
Maybe.
That is the question.
Entirely possible.
We're going to find out very soon. If you want to take a closer look at the game, you can follow Chaz. He's our POV stream for today at OPL. You can find Chaz's video there
Ooh,
on
I want him
on
to play
Twitter.
Zed.
You want what?
That'd be great,
Oh,
actually.
I dig that.
Why? What?
Him to play Zed.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, he's an old school
Assassin
like
guy.
assassin player.
I thought we were still talking about the spear of whatever.
Shojin.
Back to the desk.
Spear of something, for
Shojin.
sure. Shojin.
Yeah.
Good. 9.3. Awesome. This is still going to be a mountain to climb
Yes.
for Legacy, though. Unfortunately, they're going up against one of the best teams in the league right now. Bombers have just looked so good.
Yep.
So clean across the board. They've dropped one game, it was to Chiefs. I mean, if there's a snowball's chance in hell here, Bryce, for Legacy to win this game, how do they do it?
Like 9.3 shenanigans, whether it is like a Jax, like whatever bruiser in the top lane, there's already been like a Riven for Paprise into the Urgot, didn't go well. Like, there are other things. If you're just looking at straight solo queue, right, like Guts and Chaz duo, probably out of all of the OPL mid-jungle duos, they duo the most. And they just play super obnoxious, like Olaf Talon every single game, and they just invade and make like non-duo junglers miserable. So like they could do some stuff, right? I feel like we say that coming into AV games and Legacy games, and AV actually commit to like doing weird stuff. But Legacy don't commit to doing weird stuff whatsoever.
And what do they have to lose at this point? I mean, they need to get some points on the board.
I feel like I have been saying this for weeks, but like it never really comes into fruition. So like there are certainly weird things that they can go for, and I feel like we are definitely at the point in the season where they have to go for that stuff. Against Bombers, if they play standard, they do not win.
Yeah.
Right? Like in my eyes, there's very little.
They're going to get beat down by it. But the jungle invade strategy, that
Like-
might be a very
like
viable one.
there-
Balkan
yeah.
is the newer member. He's been rocking it.
Yep.
But, I mean, if you can throw him off of his
Yeah.
comfort, that might start to change things.
Because that's the thing, Bombers really haven't been put in like a very bad situation yet. Like they've been playing not weird League of Legends, but weird like Bombers League of Legends, given the players that are on the team. If we're going to talk about Frostmancy, I feel like this is a team in the Bombers that certainly could do this around an 80 carry in FBI. At the start of the split, when Kai'Sa was like one of the best 80 carries, he was almost 1v5ing team fights without shields, without Crucible from the top lane, without anything, and he was already popping off. They've been playing a lot of like blind pick Tahm Kench for FBI to thrive. He's also been playing a decent amount of Victor. Earlier on in the split. I think on this patch that probably goes away somewhat, but...
Yeah. All right. So we'll see. It looks like we've dropped out Champs League for just a second. We're going to have to reset that one. But we'll still keep talking about like the chances, the things that these players will change up a little bit on 9.3.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. We'll probably see a little bit more of the traditional AD carries rather than mages.
I think
even coming out of FBI.
Well, I mean, so like we don't really know. I would really like to see Mimic because he's been the king of Urgot so far. He's played a whole lot of Urgot, which is like just been the best top laner for the entirety of the split so far. He gets it a lot because there's a lot of things to worry about when you're going up into a team like the Bombers, right? Like Mimic. Much like Swaith can play the Eve, can play the Ken, like those sort of weird junglers that are hard to deal with. He has like gone back to those stuff. He's been a big Camille player, so on this patch, like sort of hurts him and the Bombers more so than any other team because they play the most Camille. So there are certainly like areas across the board for Bombers that you feel like you have to attack, which I think is the reason why Mimic has played so many Urgot games. But in the past, like last split, his GP was the best in the region. Like he is a very good individual, like can be carry, can be tank. He's just a very well-rounded top laner, and I'd be super excited if he was the first one to bring out like Spear of Shojin, Jax, like anything weird in the top lane that we haven't seen so far, because this is a brand new patch. We're 3 games deep on the first day, or 2 games deep, and this will be the 3rd, so there's stuff we haven't seen yet.
How likely do you think it is that he's the one that brings out something like that compared to somebody like Paprise, who's already played the Riven when it wasn't patch 9.3?
Well, I mean, probably less, right? Because like everything I've set up to this point is like Legacy need to throw something. So like I think the likelihood of them doing that is pretty high. For like the last couple of weeks, it seems like their bottom lane is Praedyth and Crazy. They're both like Crazy switching from AD carry to support, and Praedyth is switching from top lane.
Right.
Has played AD carry in the past, but like to AD carry, and like there is that transition period, and I feel like they've been put on like Braum Sivir duty. Like, fairly often, in multiple games, they're happy to just blind Braum and pick, like, a utility bottom lane to open up for, like, a Riven top, right? So, stylistically, they're a team that will just go towards that. I can see them doing that a lot. And it's not like that is a bad strategy. It's not like Braum is bad. Like
it feels like it's a bit of a holding pattern, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not getting anything special out of it, whereas I think the big talk of the Legacy team coming in was that, well, what is going to be this team's ace? Like, what can they do? And it's going to be surprise picks. None of these are surprising. It's all been coming out of the likes of Paprise.
Well, like we have seen some other stuff. Zach has been
That's
a big
true.
pick for them
It's
in
been a little
Guts,
different,
but they played Elise. Like they played an Elise game, didn't get something going early, and that's an Elise comp. Like it's not bad to go for that sort of start, but once you do fall behind, it's like, man, I'm Elise with Mobies and no kills. Like I'm just
You move real fast and do nothing.
Yeah, you move real fast and do absolutely no damage. So it's a little bit rough, right? Like I would like to go back towards that sort of stuff, but like we'll see what they bring out today.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Now, just to give you guys a heads up, there's a slight game delay. We'll be back in about a minute, 30 seconds-ish into champion selection. I believe we'll be in the same picks and bans that there were already, unless I hear a different word from production. We are in to picks and bans once again, and yes, it looks like the same so far. The Urgot, as you mentioned, was banned by the Bomber side. So yeah, of course, we also have Karthus and Alessandra removed.
Because out of all the standard stuff, like, Urgot is still incredibly good. Like, Aatrox got nerfed, Aurelia Akalia gone, Liss is like somewhat of a flex into top lane, but like, Urgot is just the king up there now with Aatrox gone. He's solely standing at the top. There are answers. People are very willing to pick the Sion matchup, but as a red side ban, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that most teams have been opting to just ban the Lucian out as well because, as you mentioned earlier on the couch, it is one of the still very strong AD carry picks. But banning it means everyone's kind of forced to move up into those new hot crit AD carries, and that kind of changes things around a little bit. So keep eyes on Legacy. They do pick the Braum. That is no surprise here for Crazy, but it is a very quick pickup.
Yeah. Hovered a couple of things, but then just straight up locked that one in. Because the interesting thing as well is that because the Lucian, like, obviously it goes blue side ban, red side ban, and they alternate back and forth. It was a blue side Lucian third ban, and then it's like a Cassio ban from Bombers as well. Because I feel like out of all the AD carries, unless you're playing something weird like Lethality Varus or whatever, like, Lucian lanes best into Cassio. So, bit of a response ban there from the Bombers, and makes a lot of sense. This lock-in as well.
The Aatrox picked up for Mimic, because Aatrox normally gets banned. I mean, I guess, yeah, it can flex around.
Yeah.
But this is a strong pickup for Bombers. Now the Karma gets locked in. So now that we've seen everything for Legacy here in the solo lanes, we know this is going to be another Karma top.
Yes, we do. And the Aatrox flex, not too much to mid lane, especially with Ryoma. I think he can play it, but in mid lane it is not the best anymore. Most likely is going to be going into the hands of jungle, I think, unless they like the Aatrox into Karma top matchup. And on Legacy side, I really do like the Ryze lock-in. They're going to have a TP mid laner if that does, well, it is going to go into the mid lane. So Chaz is going to be able to move around the map. He is the best side laning mid laner probably in the game at dealing with top lane champions. Like, whoever Mimic gets locked in to deal with a Karma in the laning phase and early on in the game, like, Chaz is going to be absolutely okay matching up into him later. And that was my criticisms of Order Comp, right? Like, already they fixed that sort of hole. And this is going to be a Spell Thief. It is going to be a Frostmancy game, I expect, and see how Legacy can fare.
And we'll see indeed. Legacy, Paprise. Perhaps that's a bigger surprise that they opt to go for that instead of playing something for the lane dominance. Kha'Zix banned away here in the second phase, starting to target out Guts champion pool.
And I think the interesting thing we're going to see here is what Legacy thinks is good into Karma top. I expect these two bans to be going towards Mimic's champion pool. Aatrox locked in, I mentioned, most likely jungle, I expect. So they've picked away the Ryze, which I think is good into Karma top. We have seen other things elsewhere. We just saw Chippies pick up the Vladimir. He mentioned in his interview, not exactly what the picks were, but he was like, Order banned away some other stuff that I like into it. So there are multiple things, and Olaf is definitely a jungle ban, I expect. I can see it being okay into Karma if you want. Like, if Mimic plays it, I feel like more likely is just a respectful jungle ban, but yeah, that's fairly interesting.
Legacy still have one more shot. Let's see if they ban away that Vladimir or if it's something else entirely. See how Paprise ends up faring on this pickup.
Couple of seconds remaining.
Lulu.
Okay, they banned the match. So there's been a couple of things over the course of time in League of Legends where it just gets so good that you have to match. If Legacy come into this and they're like, we think Frostmancy is OP, and they think it is literally the best way to play the game, then there is merit to the thought that we ban away the Lulu. That is just like, you can match Frostmancy with Frostmancy and go even.
So it's Aatrox top after all, because Balkan just opts to go into the Evelynn matchup, and also Legacy quickly lock in a Jinx for the bottom lane of Praedyth, and they will get a jungle Gragas.
Yeah. Okay, so he's been on the fringe for a while. He's very good, and he just offers straight up flash engage, right? Like, you just have a go button immediately. Protection, disengage also for the Jinx. She's going to have Karma shields. She's going to have Braum shields as well.
Do you think he goes tankier, like the old throwback build? Because they have so much AP already.
I think he could opt in for both. I feel like the better Gragas build in isolation right now is like the what's the Luden's item in the jungle?
The Runic Echoes.
Yes, Runic Echoes into Zhonya's, and like, you actually deal significant damage. So
yeah,
I expect him to go that route, but he can very happily opt into just being a frontline here for the Jinx. Like, that sort of comp lends itself pretty well to that.
And look at the AD carry matchup on the opposite side. FBI is locked in the Tristana. So Tristana Jinx is kind of like a matchup that I think we haven't really seen for a while because both champions haven't really been in the pool until recently. But they are both very much crit-heavy AD carries. We've seen a bit of Jinx already, courtesy of Gun Crab. But now it'll be in the hands of Praedyth, the former top laner, up against FBI on the Tristana.
And this is one of the oldest bottom lanes that has ever existed in the AD carry support meta in League of Legends. Alistar Tristana. It used to be hit level 2, Ali combos in, Tristana jumps on your head, and you go absolutely boom. She's got a big bloody cannon.
Yeah, she does. And she attacks really fast later on in the game, too.
And Bombers, for the majority of this split, have just been blinding Tahm Kench and playing fairly negative matchups. I really like this out of FBI and Rogue. They are an aggressive bot lane duo. They lend themselves a lot to this style, and this is knowing the opponents are going for Frostmancy. Bombers have gone for like CC in the top lane, CC in the bottom lane. They've got damage and set up in the mid lane. Balkan has a matchup in the jungle where he just brings the damage. If he can flank behind anyone, they want the pick. So they're not opting into the scaling game here. They have late game assurances in the tanky lineup. They have the Alistar and they have the damage from Tristana, but they're wanting to bring the fight here to Legacy today.
They certainly are. Well, we're about to get underway here. The 71 Bombers taking on the 1-7 Legacy in the hunt to try and get some much-needed points on the board. Joining us at the start of this game is, of course, the coach for Bombers. It is Weston Way.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about this setup here, especially in the top lane, because you had a chance to pick something against the Karma that might have been able to neutralize it, but you've opted into taking the Aatrox top for Mimic. Can you explain to me a little bit of the reasoning behind that?
Mimic said he likes the matchup, and he said that he was confident that he'd be able to do well. So yeah, we just pretty much just trust him and gave him the champ.
And I want to get sort of your opinions on the patch overall. Like, Frostmancy being in the game is definitely a spanner in the works for a lot of teams. Is it something you guys sort of feel like you thrive in being able to adapt quickly to the meta or this sort of stuff? Or because this is more of a standard sort of game plan, right? Like, this is much more to what we've been seeing than you guys opting in for Frostmancy. How do you feel about it overall?
Overall, we're pretty fine with it. I mean, in terms of our players, they all have like pretty big champion pools, and they're all very talented, so they're able to pick up new champions when they come in. And I think with the top lane meta kind of changing a little bit from last patch, where it was just the 3 tanks over and over, I think that is really good for us, because Mimic obviously is able to play like both the tanks, but he's also play the carries. So that pool opening up is very good for us. And
I want to ask about your split overall. Obviously, this has been a very good start for you guys. Only a single loss on the board to Chiefs so far. Is this, with a roster like this, where you expected to start? Have you met expectations? Are you lagging behind even or ahead of where you thought the year would go?
I'd say we're probably about where we expected to be, sitting in first place equal on the ladder. Obviously, the goal for this team is going to be to go to MSI and to Worlds. So I guess anything less than that, anything less than being in this position is probably a disappointment for us.
And how much of a focus is that at this point of the split? We're now halfway through. We're into week number 5. Is that something that's on their minds, like MSI, Worlds, like these sort of matchups?
I think for players of this caliber, it's always going to be something which is on their minds.
We're going to have a first blood here early on. Guts getting chased down by Balkan. That red buff, he wants it, and he might just walk away from it. We don't have it. All right. Okay, so the action kind of keeps on going here, but before you go, Weston Way... Oh, hold on a second. Mimic's still going to get fired down. Hold on.
Flash.
He's going to have to burn it. Okay, I had a last question, but it totally went out of my head. Thank you so much for joining us, Weston Way.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck to the team.
Interesting start of the game.
Yes, but Guts, the net effect is Guts steals a red buff.
Yes.
Away from Balkan.
I want to talk about what this means, because I feel like this show, I'm giving some harsh criticisms, but I hate that invade. Syndra into Rise early as the Q misses, so this bot lane is just going to be a winning trade for the Bombers. But this is a top 2v2 invade, where your mid just does not have priority. You saw as soon as that happened, Ryoma was a little slow in the rotate, but as soon as he starts walking up, Guts leaves, Paprise leaves. He almost gets a kill because of a greedy base by Mimic, who has to burn the flash on the back end. But if you do not get mid priority, invading top 2v2, unless they don't ward it, which Bombers did their due diligence, and they did ward it, they saw it coming, and Balkan went to the Raptor camp, you're expecting the other team to not make the right play for that play to work. And it ends up okay. He gets the red buff, like, they lose some summoners in the hands of Guts. That's a pretty big flash cooldown. That's a very useful tool that Gragas has. Like an immediate E-flash gank early in the game can set them up very nicely. So it ends well, but that is a risky game to play for Legacy.
That's true. Of course, what we have been saying is that Legacy should not be trying to play out standard League of Legends because they're getting outclassed in that regard. Obviously, it is still a pretty big risk to make. Balkan's kind of forced to invade on the bottom side of the jungle here. As his red was taken away. He's going to try to pick that one up, but I don't know if he'll be able to get there in time. Actually, Raptors reset, so Balkan maybe feeling a little bit of heat here. He's making small misplays, taking a little more time than he should.
Certainly is the case, and I'm really excited to see what Legacy do with this comp. Because in my eyes, like, Legacy don't have a lot of OPL wins, but they're a very good team at punishing greedy play from the opposition. they play like a lot of Lissandra, a lot of Zac, like a lot of these hard engage style of comps, and they do fall behind in the early game, but they always look like they set themselves up for flank wards for a list to set up, right? Like they always get Guts into the back of a fight and actually set something up, and they're very good at punishing greedy play from their opponents, and they have just a hella scaling comp. You have a Jinx with a Braum shield, with Karma shields. Ryze is just a late game monster. So if this game goes even, if not just a slight loss in the early game, like this is a good situation for them to set up. And I feel like in regards to the OPL so far, like we have seen only one other style from Order, but I like this Frostmancy setup much more in my opinion. So I'm excited to see how Legacy play this one out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If they get a chance to really get themselves more on the board here, it would be a pretty big statement up against the likes of Bombers, who have only dropped a game to the Chiefs in the split so far. That first round robin, now of course into the second. Early in this game, slight goal lead for Bombers. That effect, of course, really neutralized after Guts gets that steal off because Balkan gets the same. So, you know, after all, we're kind of settling into as close to normal as we can get at the start of 9.3, Egypt.
Yeah. Someone can agree with you here. Syndra has arrived at the play. Guts has no flash. Charm
he does
lands.
get charmed up. Hold up a second.
Here's
Chaz
Ryze.
is there. Into Rune Prison Balkan goes, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ryoma getting first blood. Now that is big for Bombers.
Yes, certainly is. The matchup in the mid lane is only going to get harder. Syndra, with a kill, will go back, be able to get those damage items that she is going to ding level 6 first, so Chaz has to be very respectful. Ryoma playing in front of the wave here.
He's zoning Chaz away.
Yeah, that feels bad. He's got his tier, which is nice for a Ryze, but that was just a fairly greedy invade from Guts. A quick reaction from Ryoma. Helps out his jungler in Balkan, and Flashless Gragas, as soon as the charm lands, there's nothing he can do. Mimic's looking for a bit of action, though.
Paprise up towards top, trying to find a little bit. Return fire back onto Mimic, who, for a melee champion, has been able to still harass Paprise quite a bit. Things might start changing a little bit when ultimates come into play. Of course, it matters a little bit less for the likes of Paprise.
Certainly does. And speaking of Karma's ultimate, as we take a check-in with the gold, right? He's up a little bit. He's up 70 CS. That's just a few Spell Thief procs. That's okay so far. Has gone back to base and TP'd back to the upgraded Frostfang. But something you almost never see in League of Legends when watching Karma, because she is a mid laner or a support. You can use your ulti as a button by itself. You just hit Mantra, and then what you want is the Klepto and the Spell Thief procs. So you just hit ulti, and then auto again, and then you use another ability and get the double autos, and it looks so weird to see a Karma walking around lane and hitting the ulti and not throwing out a Q afterwards immediately, or not going for the shield.
I think just seeing the Frostmancy thing, it just kind of does people's heads in a little bit here. So yeah, it's definitely a little counterintuitive for sure. Yeah. Bombers still have 1,000 gold edge overall there. Guts picks up the big Raptor off the back as he goes through.
Yep, building themselves a little bit of a lead here in the bottom side. A recall had to come out from Praedyth. The heal was burned very early in the lane. We saw those trades happening, and FBI and Rogue was certainly getting the upper hand here. So this is a cannon wave, so a melee creep. The cannon will certainly die towards the turret, and nobody's going to be able to pick that one up. But a big thing in League of Legends in the current state, I feel like, is gold in the early game is a lot more accessible because of plating, obviously, but with shutdowns, which this Frostmancy sort of style skews very heavily, gold is, I feel like, the worst indicator in League of Legends as we've ever seen, right? Mid lane gank is coming out, ulti.
Chaz is forced to flash very quickly here. Even Rogue was coming on up with those Moby boots to try and close the gap. And I mean, there's a really good connection there between Ryoma and Balkan, but it just wasn't enough to net the kill.
Yeah, they get themselves the summoner, so they can return to that next time the ulti is back off cooldown. But I want to say, like, when you get to mid game and if you don't have incredibly clean games, like given the fact that losing teams can get plates on the other side of the map, like if they pick up a Rift Herald and if you are losing, you get a bunch of plates on the back end, you get a couple of shutdowns, like gold is the worst indicator it has ever been, I think, in League of Legends for like who is winning the game, which is fairly interesting to look at because there's just invisible gold across the map that isn't in terms of CS, but...
And they've got the knockback onto Crazy, forcing the flash. They look for Praedyth as well. The rest of Legacy bottom lane managed to get back nice and safe. Rogue still wants to damage. He gets the knockback, but it's not going to be an execution. Those are always risky because you might think you have enough damage, and then you buster shot, and you're like, oh, I lived on one, and now I can't touch him anymore.
Because there's also a world where Tristana has enough attack speed to buster shot and then get a cheeky little auto attack after that point. But yeah, double dagger isn't going to be that break point. Bombers commit very hard to the bottom lane. Flash out of the Alistar. Flash from Balkan. Unfortunately, didn't proc the charm, but they did get enough to get themselves another 2 plates in the back end, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the strengths of the Tristana as well. You just kind of wreck turrets here. You have a little bit of a demolition crew going on. But they did get a little bit of assist from Balkan.
Yep.
And there's been a fairly sizable CS difference that's already happened there. Just by virtue of, I think, FBI and Rogue really playing a little bit better. Here comes Balkan back to the mid lane, though.
Rise.
Very flashless. Root Prison, good acting by Ryoma. Not a whole lot of mana on either side, and Chaz just two-steps it. But can he get away from 3? They close the net, and Ryoma claims another kill.
Very nice rotation once again from the Bombers. Round number 2 is successful onto Chaz. Runs his way up the river. Dodges out the initial gank, but Mimic is already in the river, ruining his day absolutely. So he eventually falls down, given the amount of pressure that's been shown around the mid lane.
Yeah, so it's just a couple of steps. Bombers are ahead of the game on Legacy, getting a few kills. Crucially onto this Syndra. I feel like once it gets into the mid game, it's going to be scary.
Trades in the top line.
Yeah.
But in talking about the kills and where they're going, like, more so than ever, when you're against a Protect the X composition, where you have a Braum Karma for the Jinx. Ooh!
Hello!
That
was bold by Mimic. Yeah, and Paprise holds his nerve there. He's going to run up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is one of the most annoying things about Karma in the top lane, or just Karma in general. Like, if you go for the all-in and you do not get it, you get 20% missing health back on your Mantra W when you cast it. And then if you can proc the second part, you can actually root the enemy, you get 20% more again. So even any damage in the middle point where the tether is chained onto the champion, you don't even care about the damage because you're just going to heal it back up on the back end. So Mimic expends the flash, doesn't get the all-in, and Papra is just going to heal back up on the back end.
You sounded like one of those like cleaning bottles that gives you like extra 20% more free.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's good stuff.
It feels good. But as I was saying, like the kills going over to the Syndra feels very good. Syndra, literally just single target damage, right? She has CC. This is
Paprise. This was way too bold.
Yep.
Balkan sniffs a kill.
Very easily. He didn't even walk. He didn't have ulti.
He used
didn't
two
have flash,
abilities.
Didn't have smite.
He used two abilities, and he just walked up and hit the buttons.
Flings a spike, and Karma falls down.
That was questionable. He was very low.
Yep.
So speaking of 20% more free.
That's just a free kill.
Down on the bottom, though, this tower is very soon to fall. There are no more plates left. Good clear, though, using the rockets. Praedyth does manage to get this out. So, you know, Legacy are holding on in a couple of lanes, but they still have those questionable decisions. And Balkan is the difference maker here. He is the terror of the mid lane.
He has been incredibly active in this early game, even given that he lost his red buff, right? Like, went down track towards the bottom side. Has the lanes to set up for him. There is hard CC in every single lane, which is exactly what an Evelyn wants, right? Because they have priority mid and bot as well, you can see the vision line for Bombers is pretty heavily extended into the jungle of Legacy, so he has so much freedom to wrap around. This is a dive.
And they get the jump in here. Teleports are flying. The Braum's going to get that knockup, but Ryoma does get the kill onto the Jinx, and all of a sudden, it is an absolute blitz in this bottom lane. Balkan coming through looking for Crazy, but Rogue dies before it can all begin.
Ooh.
There's the last caress, a double kill for Ryoma.
The redive.
They juggle the aggro. They're going to be able to get a few more. Guts throwing out barrels. Rogue, FBI, hopping through. It's going to be Chaz and Guts flashing.
Gets it.
And it's not enough, but FBI should be able to get the job done. But it's Ryoma that cleans it up.
And ironically, at the back end, the flash from Ryoma wasn't even necessary. The satchel charge there from FBI is still ticking on the head after the stopwatch times out. And that is just an explosive gold lead out of nowhere.
And
Legacy,
Ryoma's 6-0 now.
They commit to the defense on the dive, and they get heavily punished here.
So I know you said, Bryce, that gold is the worst indicator it's ever been, but that's 5,000 ahead for Bombers. I think that's pretty sizable.
It is sizable. Like, gold leads certainly matter. I'm not saying they don't, but
I'm just messing with you.
Shutdown gold is the big thing, right? 1,000 gold on Ryoma 13 minutes into the game. He goes back by Sork Boots and Ludens, but this is just a very nice setup. Double TP from Legacy to commit to the defense here, but they're just too low already. The Alistar tanks up for so long, and you can see the respect here from Bombers. They've corralled Legacy back underneath the turret, and they just go for the redive. Mimic isn't even needed on the back end. He's just hitting the turret, and Paprise
is dead because FBI and Rogue, I want to see the setup for that. FBI and Rogue were just on top of him when we got out of replay. Paprise is having one of those games that you really don't want to have.
That is a little bit rough because his earlier death, his second one, right? Like, he was just stepping up, didn't respect the fact that Eve could be on the map, and he dies for free. After this bot lane play, is feeling the heat, right? They are falling behind in this game. Goes top and doesn't respect the Alistar roam. He has the Mobies, didn't even have to burn the flash in that place. So
second time
he just
dies.
Karma
Frostmancy is getting punished here today.
Yeah.
Different reasons for it, but the net result is the same. Bombers opening up a pretty big gold lead here as they got one tower, soon to get another. Should be easy for them to grab another dragon on this map. It is the mountain.
And Paprise has also gone for the even harder scaling option in the tier. This isn't an Athene's Rush, which is a first item spike. It's like not the best, right? It's not a full AP Karma where you have an actual rune instead of Klepto, but he's heavily invested in the late game. He's gone for tier. I'm curious to see what his second item is, if he then goes for Athene's and then still goes straight supporter, if he does like turn that mana crystal into maybe a frozen fist, because Karma can buy that sort of stuff and have some armor to deal with Aatrox in the side lane, but is a little bit of a roughie being 0-3, 0 AP Karma, trying to deal with a snowballing Bombers lineup.
Yep, that's definitely the way of it right now. Tristana starting to become a mobile wrecking crew, knocking down those towers when no one's at home. You can see Legacy playing reactive, trying to sniff out a kill. The problem was they were nowhere near anyone from Bombers, so they lost a lot of tempo for doing it. And Balkan continues to be everywhere on this map. He is a one-man jungling army.
Yep. He has had so much freedom this game. The fact that Rogue in the early game was linking up around mid was denying that vision. Mimic, you saw when he rotated down earlier and got the first kill onto Chaz when he was flashless. Like, they're using their priority to move around the map. They get vision control in the river, and the best thing you can do against an Evelynn as Legacy is get vision on her camps. Because you see her do her camps, you know where she is on the map, and you can play defensively. But they just haven't had any control to get that vision. Rogue once again.
And they go in for it immediately. It's the Boom Cow, Rogue and FBI comboing up, looking for the damage. FBI gets one. Waiting on that reset, doesn't go for it. Now Shelly's in the mid lane, and Bombers should be able to close out this second turret. Our third turret of the game, I should say. The second one in the last couple of minutes. And Balkan flashing forward, looking for Praedyth. They turn around, Shelly getting another charge. And they're going to take another tower.
And Balkan, it's Valentine's Day, but he has absolutely no need for charms. He just flashes forward, looks straight for the one-shot, and Shelly's going to charge in onto the inhib. Half HP on that turret as well. It does regen very slowly, I believe.
That's double time, triple time for the Rift Herald. And now Mimic is chasing Paprise under second tier, and he's going to be able to solo him out. This is getting out of hand here, Bryce.
And that's it right there. The first heal wasn't enough. Mimic slaps him down before the second one comes through. And
look at Paprise on the cam.
You saw Western Way in his interview. He said Mimic is very comfortable in this matchup. This is nerfed Aatrox. He has less sustain, dashing through minions and stuff like that. And you think about that broad picture. Karma, she's just going to whack you in laning phase, right? She's got abilities to fling at you. She's auto-attacking. She doesn't need to farm. That sounds horrible. Like, the thing you lost was sustained, but the all-ins are there as now he's got the Hex Drinker, his team's supporting him, and Mimic looks very comfortable.
Oh, yeah. This is becoming a good old Stomparooski here, Bryce.
Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
That's a word and a half.
Yeah, it definitely is. Legacy, though, you know, I think it kind of continues that trend you were talking about. They pick some interesting champions, but they don't commit beyond the first couple of minutes to playing some weird stuff. Guts goes for the invade. It was cool, but you know there didn't seem to be a whole lot of follow up there.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, right? Like they're playing what is considered across the world like the broken thing on the patch. It's not like they went Braum Sivir and just went hard defense bottom lane. They have a hyper carry in Jinx, who out of all the hyper carries has the best laning phase. They're looking for picks. They went for a very early invade topside to get the snowball started. Unfortunately, he just kind of fell flat, right? Like, Bombers had a very good answer. They have the CC, they have the hard engage to set this one up. It's not like Legacy are falling behind for lack of trying. It's just the answer has already been there.
They just keep getting jumped on. Once again, it's Balkan with the final shot, but FBI and Rogue were there as well. And they just keep triple teaming this one.
Yep.
All right, Ryoma on the top. He lets the wave push in.
A little bit rough. I feel like Ryoma has had the easiest game of his life.
He's been like, spoon-fed kills.
Like, he hasn't played poorly by any means. He was helping out Balkan early. He goes bottom lane and gets the dive, but he just cleans up 4 kills. Yeah. And nobody is going towards him on the map. You saw Chaz dies there trying to contest like the Tristana and the Eve in the jungle because he looks at top lane. He takes one look at the cleansed flash Ryoma and is just like, nah, man, like none of that.
They're going to break the base here. It's 18 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, this is tough for Legacy. And, you know, it's a team that's been so hard-pressed to find these wins. They have had moments. They have at least, you know, flashes of brilliance where they've made some good plays. Just not strung enough together in a single game to really make it count for the most part. Obviously, you don't expect to win this game. You're up against Bombers. It was always a mountain to climb for sure. But it's got to feel rough to have this happening to you week in and week out at the moment and just being so thoroughly crushed down. How do they turn this around? How do they turn the season around?
I don't know, because this is the 7th loss in a row. That gets to you. We've had teams go 0-10 seasons in the OPL. I feel like Tectonic springs to mind. We've had some we've had some bloody roughies. I don't think
this is
we're
a best
getting,
of one, by the way.
Yeah, we're not getting to that stage just yet, but certainly things need to start happening. This is a very tough game. Like we're talking about Legacy, but this is one of the best, the most consistent teams in the OPL right now. Chiefs and Bombers sit right at the top. So this is one of their hardest games of the season, right? But this is certainly looking like an absolute
kills
bot.
Balkan. When did that happen? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Hold up a second. Yeah.
What?
Well, we have a dragon that gets reset. So apparently,
Praetus
just launch a rocket.
He must have had vision.
We got to see a replay of that.
Yes. What's happened?
I just saw the kill and I'm like, wait a minute, what is going on there? So, I mean, good for Praetus.
As I'm sitting here, like Bombers are the most, one of the most respected, the most consistent, and Balkan just gets bopped across the map.
I mean, it's not going to matter, but still.
What? Oh.
Okay,
interesting.
that was weird looking.
Yeah, Rogue eventually
I think he X-flashed over, yeah.
I think it was
but okay, I want to see that one again.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, that's not the first time Praetus has cross-mapped something crazy. So let's take a look.
Balkan is obviously sitting in the Raptor pit right now. Sorry, in the Dragon pit. And do they have vision? Is this blind?
Oh my
That's blind.
God. He almost stole the dragon, too.
That's second time in a row. 2 weeks. Last week it was the Ezreal stealing the Baron. Blind.
All right, so here's a silver lining right now for Praetus, is the dude is a sniper.
Yes, absolutely. Whether it's Ezreal, whether it's Jinx, because not to mention as well, like highlighting Praetus, in a lot of Legacy's losses, he's the guy standing tall, right? They do have Brahms there to protect him. They do go for these styles of comps, but he has been playing decent League of Legends, especially in the later game.
Ooh,
Legacy though, Chaz.
Flashes over, he was left for dead. Good shields up there, but now it's crazy. Guts tries to chuck out a big party barrel, but Bombers just shrug it right on off. And FBI on the front line, shot after shot after shot with the flash. It's FBI on the spree.
And the 2 picks they need now setting up for Baron. This is going to be a very easy pickup and hard to contest if you're Legacy. Praetus in the mid lane, just farming it up, but this is going to be Baron. This is going to be 21 minutes, the game broken wide open. 11 to 12,000 is the gold lead right now, and Bombers maintain firm control over this match.
6 towers to 0. 14 kills to 3. Legacy are in a massive, massive deficit right now. Baron going over the way of Bombers. We'll see how far they push this one in. This could be one of the faster games today here, Bryce.
FBI almost has a 4,000 gold lead. Closer to 3.
Yeah. He would have a 4,000 gold lead if Praetus hadn't sniped away Balkan. You never expect that either. You're just minding your own business, you're doing a dragon, and then you got a super mega death rocket in the face.
I will say, we did see the ward rubble.
Yes.
So maybe the ward was there timed out and he had some predictive ability. He knew he was there. It wasn't a hard guess, like a straight guess, but he still has to tick down the health bar in his head and still has to time that one.
I mean, we've clearly seen now two weeks in a row that he has that cross-map awareness.
Australian sniper, mate.
That's good. He really is.
Born and raised in Kempsey. Actually, I feel like I got that wrong. I was watching our Legacy last night. This was a Praetus episode. What a time.
I know, right?
Right? What a time. Gets the Jinx rocket. Almost steals the dragon. Almost does a wild turtle.
I thought a wild turtle was flashing over a wall randomly.
Yeah, well, he also stole... No, he was a piglet.
Yeah.
It's a piglet I'm talking about. Corky rocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, onto the blind Baron.
Yeah, wild turtle was definitely something different.
Someone tweeted that, and I was watching that clip the other day. And wild turtle, I feel like maybe he has stolen something with a Jinx rocket, but he's certainly more known for flashing into the enemy.
By the way, and I'm not a good League of Legends player. I will preface this by saying, but that was my most famous highlight thing was always stealing crap with Jinx rockets, because you can AoE steal it. Now the fight is going to be on here, and Bombers just don't have the health bars to make it happen. Forget the towers, they're diving on in, and they just melt through everyone but Praetus, who has to watch as his base is demolished.
And the
FBI's fountain diving.
Oh, does he die?
Rocket through? No, not enough.
Does a fair amount of damage, but that was the last stand there for Legacy. They had to look for the fight before everything was a foregone conclusion, and as expected, gold lead is there. They lose the fight, they will lose the game.
They will indeed. So, Bombers close this one out as cleanly as can be expected in the fastest game of the day, 23.5 minutes.
And that is what I expect a Bombers victory to look like. Aggressive picks. They have Ryoma in the mid lane on the Syndra. He can play his 1v1 matchup. They have an Alistar, Tristana in the bottom lane. Balkan gets an open map. He gets the freedom to go towards his niche picks like the Evelyn, and that was just very clean.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to see from them going into this game. I feel like they will be very happy with that victory. Talking to Western Way, like he expected this sort of style, and that's just a clean-cut win over a weaker opponent.
And I feel like it's one of those games where you can't really learn much, especially as Bombers. You just, this is fair. We won against somebody that we were better than. Our strategy worked out. We didn't have to worry about the karma top.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a good win into Frostmancy. It's now got a 0% win rate over the day. It has looked very rough, but like for the Bombers, I don't agree with that conclusion, right? Because like stage practice is a big thing. Like this is still a fairly new team, right? They came together at the start of this year. They have the old Sin trio of FBI, Rogue, and Ryoma. They've played together before, but then bringing in double Korean import. Mimic's been here before. Balkan has not, but this is a fresh new roster, and against the lower tier teams, like this is a 1-win Legacy versus now an 8-win in Bombers. Like you want to get those reps in. This is going to the nets and shooting hoops.
No,
and
I mean, that's fine. What I'm saying is I don't think they learned anything new from it.
Yeah, but
that's
getting that stage practice in where like we can go in, we can get our game plan, we can execute, and it can be a clean game. Like that's still valuable, right? Like it's not a game you take nothing out of.
No,
it
is valuable for sure.
But yeah,
it is valuable for sure to be able to do what's expected. Like it's best of ones, there can be wild cards. It definitely didn't happen this time around. So the cleanest win we've had today. Let's send it over to the couch to discuss.
You do not go to the nets to shoot hoops.
You don't?
You go to the nets to like hit balls.
You cricket at the
Oh,
nets.
right, yeah.
You go to the court to shoot hoops.
You go to the court. You go to the court. All right.
That was the takeaway
Right.
from the game.
What was that?
You're off the OPL. You're done. You're done, mate. Learn a sport.
Both Rusty and I were just sitting there, like, following Bryce. Like, everything he's saying right now is making sense. Like, yeah, Reps is a new team. Like, and then I was just like, what?
We both made eye contact. We were like, hoops at the nets?
I was very busy putting on my shoes, so I didn't really catch any of it. Look, I think what we learned from that game is you can't win League of Legends unless you win lanes.
That is a big part of...
Or a jungle matchup.
Yeah. I feel like that game, if you asked me how did that game go, I would put a big, bold yikes in chat, and I would respond with, they just won everything.
Yep.
Like, they just won everything, and it started very early as well. The level 1 movements were chaotic, and I think, Bombers are the kind of team that, of the top-of-the-table teams, they'll thrive in chaos. They love it, and I think it was served to them.
And I think that there are certain teams that are drafting heavily for what they want to play, and I think Legacy falls into that category. I think Order falls into it. I think Avant, and I think what your job as a coaching staff at that point is to say, okay, who are we playing, and what do we need to move them off for us to be allowed to play our style? And then I look at the bottom half of that map, and Rogue, Ryoma, and FBI are playing their 3 most favorite champions in the game into good lanes. And I just don't, like, that to me is like bonkers. The fact that you have Syndra into Ryze, which Syndra should win, that you have Tristana into Jinx, which Tristana should win, and then you have Alistar into Jinx, which also Alistar should win that part of it. Like, that is just, to me, like, it's such a... Like, you're putting your team in a position where if they don't outplay, they can't win their lanes, which is such a hard way to play the game against Bombers, because no one wants to put themselves in a situation if you don't outplay FBI, Ryoma, and Rogue that you're not going to win the game. Like, that is just such a hard way to play the game.
All right, well, there's not too much that we could take from that game, but maybe Ryoma has taken something, and we'll find out because he's sitting with Pyra at the desk.
Thank you, Nick Boy. Yeah, so Ryoma, you had honestly what looked kind of a breeze of a game. You didn't really break a sweat much. Did the team kind of like just rally around to try and get you kills early on, or did it just kind of shake out that you were just mopping up kills?
I think the first one was actually pretty lucky, but yeah, like when you play Syndra, you need to get kills and like just use your advantage, and then yeah, it just happened to get kills.
It kind of worked out pretty easily for you. To top it off as well, we talked to your coach at the start of the game, and he expressed a lot of confidence in not only the picks, but I think playing on 9.3. Do you think that the changes have really favored Bombers as a team?
We were actually really comfortable with the last patch. I think it's kind of like the same thing. We still feel the same way, just approaching it like different ways, trying new stuff.
Okay, so there's not a whole lot that's actually really affected the way you guys have played.
Like we're just still playing the same way.
Okay, cool. On top of it, though, I think that obviously you guys are still trying to maneuver around a little bit and maintain that top position. Have you really felt any pressure coming from any of the teams that are like right below you at the moment? Do you think that they're catching up?
I think AV are actually surprisingly really good. Well, people like underrated them at the start, and I think they've like shown that like they're a pretty top team. I think they're probably like a team that push us pretty hard, and Order maybe as well.
All right, so right below you guys, still kind of on the way up. Now, you will be facing off once again against Chiefs tomorrow. It's the only team that's managed to beat you in the OPL so far. How ready do you feel?
I'm pretty confident. Like I think Or for me, like I've just individually, I feel like I've been playing really well. So I think I'm really confident right now, and I think I'll be clear tomorrow.
It's gonna be a banger. All right, back to the couch.
I love when it's not just team v team. It's calling out a fellow